Are you ready to unlock the power within? To let go of fear, embrace vulnerability, and step into a life of alignment and fulfillment? Welcome. I'm Valina Stavropoulou, and this is a journey of unbecoming, discovering a version of yourself you never knew existed. What does it mean to unbecome? It's about release, surrender, radical acceptance, and so much more. But what can unbecoming do for you? In each episode, I guide you on a journey to overcome self-doubt, set empowering boundaries, and uncover the untapped potential within you. Through honest storytelling, insightful interviews, and reflections drawn from my own experience of living with MS, you will find inspiration to face life's hurdles, embrace your authentic self, and thrive. Are you ready to cultivate deeper self-love, experience more joy, and live a life guided by purpose? It all starts now.
Welcome you to an incredible episode here, The Journey of Unbecoming. This is with Valina, as you just heard in the opener. But I do want to say a few things before we get started here. This is one of these episodes where it's not just about shifting the mind. It's really about shifting the soul at so many levels. It's the thing that when we think about life, we're thinking about the many, many ways each and every one of us has the ability to have the courage to choose you. Courage to choose you. Now, why am I saying this? This morning, Valina, I had an experience where I think Spirit is so smart because the tests that show up are usually about a show I'm going to do.
Yep, sounds familiar.
So let's go. The courage to choose you. It sounds so easy, but let's talk about this. How often have we given up our dreams, given up our free time, given up our ability to ask for a raise, given up our ability to be present, given up our ability, You can fill in the blanks. But take us on a journey about why this is so critical for us to master and what we can learn when we struggle to choose ourselves.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Pat. I mean, in today's episode, it happens to be the spring equinox. So, as the world awakens, it is actually the perfect moment for us to dive in the courage to choosing ourselves. And, it's funny because I kept saying while I was preparing for the episode, I was like, the courage to choose ourselves. And I kept saying the power to choose ourselves. And it is actually very powerful. As courageous as it is, as brave as it is also very powerful. But let's just start with the buts. Why do we struggle to choose ourselves? Yeah. Why is this so hard? And, in my years of working with clients in coaching and hypnotherapy, and of course from my own experience, I have noticed a pattern. When it comes to put ourselves first, we don't just struggle. We hesitate, we overthink, and we often feel guilty. And, we may question why that happens. Undoubtedly, there are many reasons for that when we hold ourselves back. But today, let's just focus to 4 key ones, the ones that they came up the most, both for myself, I'm sure for you too, and also the clients we're working with, right? So let's just cut to the chase. First and foremost, fear of disappointing others. That's big. If I prioritize myself, I might let someone down. And if I let someone down, what does it say about me, right? Then it's also the thing of how will I be perceived? That paralyzing fear of being perceived as selfish definitely kept me small and stuck in a cycle for many, many years. And that's the emotion. That's the emotional part. And if we are to go to the mental part, because as you said, it's the body, it's the mind, it's the soul, it's everything. So have you ever noticed how quickly just a very simple choice becomes the mental spiral? Declining the dinner, asking for what we need. This could just turn straight away to what we were discussing actually in our last episode, the inner critic. Like, what if I upset them? I'm being too difficult. They may never invite me again if I actually said no to that. And, at this point, it's actually no longer about making a decision. It's about managing how others feel. And somehow, this is our responsibility to keep the peace. And before we even know it, we've made a choice that kept everyone else happy but ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Dr. Pat, I know you've worked with so many people. Like, what's your take on that?
No, I think you've said it all. And really, let's just go through this, because I want people to understand, really not to be critical of oneself on this topic. And that's really why, Valina, you're doing this, because we'll tend to, if you're in this mode, like if this is you, where you can't choose you, then right now, if you're listening, you're already feeling guilty about what we're talking about. Right?
Yep.
Shake your head, everybody. Go like, yeah, like, I don't even know what they're saying. But overthinking things, not following intuition. I had a situation this morning and I was afraid to say to somebody what I saw the solution as being. Right? I was afraid to say it. And the minute that you're afraid to say something, and ultimately I did find the courage to say, why don't we do this? And that happened to turn out to be the perfect solution. The remedy was almost instantaneously. But you see, I almost didn't bring the topic up. I didn't want to feel bad about myself. I didn't want the person I was talking with to feel bad. So now I'm overthinking it. Now I'm managing other people's emotions. And in the end, if you don't follow through, you don't ask for what you desire. And if you don't ask the universe, guess what? You're going to get basically what you put out. But that hesitation moment.
Yes. Yeah.
That could be a dream killer.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, exactly. Because this is when we give ourselves away. As you said, you wanted to say, yes, you wanted to say, but you stopped. Why did you pause? Who were you waiting for to give you that permission to actually do it?
Right? Had to get the courage.
To say something.
Had to get the courage. I didn't have the courage at that moment.
Exactly. But then, of course, you found it. But then, it's that hesitation moment. It's where the self-abandonment starts. Choosing what feels safe, what feels appropriate, what, instead of actually say what you truly want, what aligns with your own values. It's that moment. It happens in a split second. It doesn't need, doesn't need long. It just happens.
Yeah.
And, I really wanted to share this with our audience. Born and raised Greek, prioritizing others is a fundamental norm in my culture. So, selflessness is deeply ingrained value.
From birth.
Exactly.
I have a friend I grew up with a really good friend that was family from Greece, right?
Yeah.
Right. I spent a lot of time with them, got to end up very, very great. But where we always got into arguments or debates was when we wanted to go do something. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was like, come on, let's go see Elton John down at the blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, I can't. What do you mean? What you mean? No, you can't. What do you mean you can't? Well, I've got my sister, then I got my brother, then my dad's got the Greek restaurant. It's like that movie, right? She was like from that movie. The dad had the Greek restaurant in New York City, the whole thing. Yeah. I said, well, what are you going to do? Well, I have to go clean the tables. I said, this is Elton John.
Yeah.
Free tickets.
Exactly.
Now.
It didn't matter, though. You see, it didn't matter. It didn't matter because when you're taught on putting others first and doing the right thing, it's really hard and it feels so unnatural. You feel you're doing something wrong. You feel you're going against the norm. So better not do it. Better just keep safe, right?
So let's talk about one of the underpinnings, and that's fear. Like for me today, I was afraid, but I was also mindful. I found myself being afraid to ask, but even more than being afraid to ask, managing somebody else's emotion. How do we learn to unbecome the fear of choosing yourself? Because it's real. I don't want to diminish this. For my friend and people I know, and even myself, the fear of even going back and saying to family, I really want to go to this concert. I really do. And this is a funny story because the long and short of it was she wasn't really needed that night. It was really an interesting, and we laughed about it years later because they're like, no, go have some fun. But it was too late then. See, this is the story about how fear can choose you. What can we do to move beyond the fear of either a thought, an action, anything?
Yeah, you see, it's exactly what you said. Like, choosing ourselves is not selfish. Let's just make that very, very clear, because we do believe it is, and it is about that courage. Yet we all hesitate. Somehow we all hesitate. So first and foremost, understanding the why is the very first step to start breaking free from that. Understand the why, understand your reasons. Why do you do it? Why do you keep doing it? And, truly be honest with yourself. Like, just ask yourself, if no one else's opinion mattered, what would you do that would feel aligned with you? And, the very, very important part, which I absolutely love, and I hear it a lot from clients, they're scared to give permission to themselves, including myself. I think all of us, somehow along the way, we forgot to do this. And yet it's just this, it's not simple for sure, but we forget to even think about it, that the only permission we need is the one from ourselves.
Yeah.
It's that carrot, hit that enter button. You want to send that email to work to ask for holiday? Do it. Do it. If you don't do it, then you stay stagnant. And if you stay stagnant, then what's the point at the end of the day? Yeah. So it's take that little step. And every single moment you choose yourself, you start rewriting your story, right?
I want you to touch upon this one point of what you said, because I don't think we understand this one. I think what you talk about in the work you do of Unbecoming is that moment of radical honesty. And I really would like to talk with you about that, because we don't put that together with the courage to choose ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? And so what does it start to look like? And I could think of a situation going on for me right now. And what does radical honesty help us get to?
It actually, it helps us get to be more authentic, to stand on our own feet. I kind of want to put it to this image. I love working with this imagination, because, imagination is so powerful. It's more powerful than knowledge when we work with our minds as well as our clients' minds, right? So I always have it as this. I hope you've never been to a very turbulent flight that masks fall and you need to use the oxygen mask. But let's just take that as example. So I want all of us to think that choosing ourselves is like putting our own oxygen mask on a turbulent flight. At first, it might feel very selfish, like you're neglecting the others around you. But in fact, in the beginning of a flight, the flight attendants instruct you to put your own mask first before helping others, children or elderly. Without the oxygen mask, what happens? You don't have the ability to think, and things start fading quickly. So when you secure your own mask, you ensure that you're strong enough, and then you can help others. So what do we really want to say with this example is that when we feel nourished, steady, strong, when we have the courage to choose us, then we can support the others without losing ourselves in the process, right?
This breaks down in every minute of our lives. I want to talk about the strategies for choosing and how you lay this out, because I want people to hear the honesty part. And it shows up. Look, I was playing my sport not too long ago, and I took a hard fall, and I don't fall. Right. And I already have a little bit of a condition. So falling for me is a nightmare. Well, the good things that you learn when you're a motorcycle rider, you learn how to fall well. Okay. Just saying. You really do. So, you really do. I mean, the first thing you learn, and I've been riding motorcycles since 16. So the first thing you learn is how to fall. And what you learn about is if you're going to fall, what you want to do is just fall. Don't put out your arm. Don't put out your elbows. Fall. But why did I fall? And so I told everybody I got these cramps, but that's not what was going on. See, what was happening is I wasn't choosing myself first in this doubles match. I was caretaking my partner. And in a sport that fast, if you are not paying attention to yourself. It's like driving a car in California, on that road in California, and where you live, right, driving a car, hello, on those roads. If you're not paying attention and you look away for 1 minute, you're in trouble. Isn't it the same about choosing ourselves? We have to stay focused, keep our eye on the target, which is ourselves. So what are the strategies we can use?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had the privilege throughout all these years working with incredible women and guiding them through their transformation. And of course, there are many strategies, but I wanted to focus on 3. And these have shown me, they're mindset changing tools, and they have helped my clients, they have helped myself, and I want to share them with everyone today. So firstly, it's that part of thinking and think of what will they think about me, as we said before. Flip that. What do I think about myself? What feels right for me? So with this, you start turning out the noise and you start focusing on what truly matters for you. Then moving on, it's, in coaching, we absolutely love asking questions and we ask open-ended questions. This is our way to learn more information about our clients, but because we obviously strongly believe that all the answers lie within. So these are not actually questions, these are invitations. So next time, before you say yes to something, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. The first one, do I want to do it? If it's yes, absolutely fine. Go ahead, enjoy, do whatever you want. If this is a no, then I want you to ask yourself, why don't I want to do this? And the last one, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for them? And this is your red flag. And, these are kind of like simple questions, but they reveal so much. So, and think about it, if guilt starts creep in, I just want to remind yourself that choosing yourself doesn't mean you're rejecting others. Choosing yourself, it means you're honoring your needs. And the last part, the last technique, which I absolutely love, one of the hardest things to do is say no without softening it. Babies do it, they cry and do it, toddlers do it, even teenagers do it effortlessly. But somehow, adults, we've been conditioned to make our boundaries palatable to others. So, next time you feel the need to justify yourself when you're saying no, I want you to try this. Instead of saying, oh, I'd love to come, but I'm very busy right now, I'm so sorry. All of us do it. But instead of that, I want you to say, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I won't be able to do it. Full stop. No excuses, no over-explaining, just a simple, firm, confident response. Because, think about it, right? Your reason doesn't need validation from anyone but yourself. And a boundary is a complete sentence, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So, and of course, if this is the work that we're doing, if that fear of disappointing others, if that people pleasing, it's a lot for anyone that is listening to us today. It often runs in subconscious beliefs and patterns. So we didn't choose this, but somehow we carry it for years. So, but the good news is this is our life's work, right? And especially, specifically what I'm working with, like hypnotherapy and coaching with my clients, I help them release old patterns. So if anyone wants more information, if anyone wants, to go deeper in that, and they're ready to break free from all this self-doubt, they are ready to grab this courage and just move on with their life, they can absolutely contact me. I have a website, mindhierarchy.com. I'm on Instagram at mindhierarchy, so they can contact me, they can reach out, and we can have a conversation, have a discovery call, and just understand where they're at and what they're doing.
Yeah. I have to tell you, if I had not gone through the process in working with someone like you to really get out underneath what was holding me back, I wouldn't be here speaking with you today. I would have, the language is, I would have thrown the towel in.
Yes.
Decades ago.
Yeah.
Because when you enter a venture like this, and it feels so right to you, but wrong to everybody else, for me, it was my partner, people around me, God, go get a real job. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're buying airtime. Where are you going with this? It doesn't have a future. But I couldn't explain what was in my heart and what I was being guided to do. Now, did I know that I'd be here on the verge of launching 5 channels this year? I didn't know that, but I did know it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I didn't know the
Yes,
details,
exactly.
but I didn't know how to trust. I had to remove old patterns, old
Yes.
fears that I couldn't pinpoint. So when you talk about, hypnotherapy, what we're talking about is helping people get at the root.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
Getting at the root. And we all know this. Come on. You ever weed your garden?
Yeah.
All right. So you've got 3 ways you can weed your garden. You can get your lawnmower out and you can go cut the weed down. What does that do? Nothing. Actually, what that does is it germinates the weeds. See, this is the same thing that happens with us. We put a Band-Aid on what we're fearing. Then the second part is you can attempt to pull it out. And you're probably going to get about half of that root out. But it isn't until you dig down and grab that ball root out do you have a chance of having fertile grass grow. Isn't it the same idea?
Yeah, it's exactly the same, and I love that because one of the things we always work with is like with the garden. It's such a beautiful, like the even visionary. It's beautiful, and that's that. Sometimes we kind of need to go deep. We need to go to the root cause to understand. And as I said before, this is not our fault. Life happens, and then we've been conditioned to different things, and we don't even know why we behave sometimes the way we behave, why we think the way we think, and talking about the carrots, it is courageous to ask for help. Sometimes we forget that, but actually it's a big, brave act of courage to actually say, something, I don't know what's happening. Let's just get this done. Let's make it work. So, talking about that part of like imagination and how powerful it is. Another thing actually came down to my mind is that talking about the carrots is like thinking a balance board. Let's say like a playground seesaw. I want everyone to think on one edge, let's say the left edge, you start tipping towards selflessness, right? When you completely disregard others. On the other edge, the right one, it's when you're deep in people pleasing, right? Sacrificing yourself of everyone else. But right in the middle, what is it there? Right in that sweet middle center is when you start honoring yourself. It's the place of balance, is when you start respecting both yourself, right? And then the others. Because let's just also make something very clear with this episode is that the goal here is not to dismiss others, is not to become the selfish person that actually says no to everyone without justification, right? It's just stop abandoning yourself in the process. No one else can choose you, only you yourself.
I can't believe you brought that up. I cannot believe you brought the seesaw up. I grew up in the Bronx in New York. I don't know how much people know about the Bronx, contrary to what you see on television, but everything is cement. Yeah. And so we had our playground was monkey bars, which I was the king of the monkey bars. I mean, once I got to the top, nobody else was getting up there. Oh, I love it. The seesaw, so seesawing is boring for somebody like us kids, like for me especially. So we started a game where 2 people would sit on the edges and then you'd have to stand in the middle. And when they got off, you had to balance the seesaw from the middle.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here.
Exactly.
Now, for those of you that have never done that, please don't try that on your own. But it's the kind of thing where you're with your friends and you're going to do it. I fell, I got scraped, my gosh, but I never gave up on that because there's something that happens when you feel the power of balance.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what you're talking about today.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not only for that, it connects to so many other different topics that we'll have obviously the opportunity to discuss in many more other episodes. It's that as we're like closing today, the message really is to the universe isn't holding you back, waiting for some perfect moment to grant you permission. It's already yours. It's there. So the question to everyone is that, will you claim it?
You know, I'm very proud of my best friend, Linda, who is one of the executives in the company. Mm-hmm. She did something today that was really scary for her to do, but it was the absolute perfect thing to do, and the outcome turned out phenomenally. But if you watch somebody that's very close to you go through that, and of course you're part of that scenario, mm-hmm. and then you watch what happens when they have the courage to do it. And it doesn't matter how big or how small it is. You don't have to be like buying that winning lottery ticket. It could be something small, like saying to your family, I need 5 minutes to go meditate, or yes. I need 5 minutes to regroup. Now, I want to just ask you one more time, how do people work with you? And also, they can work remotely with you, and I want to make sure they know that. Please give out your information.
Absolutely. Actually, thank you too for today. It's lovely sharing this journey with you. People could find me at mindhierarchy.com on my website, either on Instagram at mindhierarchy. They can go to the section of work with me, and I can ask, just email, and as I said before, I solely work remotely, so anyone can reach me. And we can always find the time to chat. That's, as I said before, that's my life's work. I'm dedicated to this. And it's a beautiful journey, as hard as it can get. It's a beautiful journey. And most importantly, I have the privilege to do it with you and to do it with everyone else. So, very, very happy.
Valina. Thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for this topic. And by the way, for those of you out there, I just want to remind you that the world of hypnotherapy has changed in the past decades. Now you're able to do things now remotely via Zoom or other devices now that we didn't have 20 years ago. So the opportunity is there. It's a door. It's not locked. All you need to do is grab that door handle and walk through the door. That's the first step. If you don't know what's next for you, just contact Valina and have a conversation. Find out what it is you want to do differently in your life, what you want to have in your life, and get some support in doing it, women. Thank you so much, Valina, for everything.
Thank you so much, too.
All right. Thank you for tuning us in, turning us on. We'll see you next time.
I'm Valina Stavropoulou, and you have been listening to the journey of Unbecoming, discovering a version of yourself you never knew existed. Tune in every first and third Thursday at 9 Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for a space where you are seen, heard, understood, and deeply supported. Remember, you do not have to find your way back to your heart alone. Each episode invites you to explore what Unbecoming means for your mind, body, spirit, and emotions, a transformative process of releasing what no longer serves you. This show is not just about overcoming challenges. It is about celebrating the beauty of letting go and stepping boldly into a life of joy, purpose, and self-confidence. For more information and to connect with me, visit mindhierarchy.com.